y'all doing? Everybody sitting. I didn't tell you to stand. So I'm Theaster. I'm here to hold court, which means if you guys have things that you want to ask me, you should. I might not offer very much. First question. Sure. First question. Second question.
How was the commute?
I just got here. There was turbulence in New York, always. And yeah. And I was delayed by an hour. Had to sit on the runway. Studio was nervous. I was nervous. But we got some time in with the staff, which was really nice. What's up, Pete?
I got a question.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this PSA stuff?
Right on.
He has to repeat the question.
What do I think of all this NSA stuff? I think lately, you know, like turning 40 is really interesting. Cause like I think I like getting patted down. I don't know what's going on. Like that kind of like industry, public, like, you know, like we need a male assist, we need a male, you know, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, wow. I hate that the solution for things always seem like it has to be like, make it more private, or make it, it must be more and more and more like this in order for it to work, because these other ways that are more and more public just don't work. I think that there's also something about a mentality that's like, oh, I work for a public agency or a certain kind of not-for-profit that's just like, we're chill, we just, you know, we just raise our money and we're gonna get by, you know, we'll make it to the next quarter. Where like things on the other side, it's just like a different mindset, like, oh, we're about to take over the world. Y'all so quiet. Don't y'all, it's like, what's up, Bill, baby?
You know, I'm always full of so many questions, but it's your show, man, so that's what I'm like.
No.
All right, but describe for us what an American is today. What's an American? What do they look like? What's their gender? What's their race? What's their sexual preference? What is an American? I'm thinking about James Baldwin right now.
Yes, you are thinking about James Baldwin.
Yeah, what's an American?
So, I don't have the luxury of imagining myself as American. I benefit from certain privileges. I also don't benefit from certain privileges, right? I probably benefit more today from a certain kind of Americanness than when I was 12, than when I was on the West Side, than when I was with dreads, than when I also wore my pants a little bit low. But when like white boys wear their pants low, it's cool. It's like, they can do, you know, it's like, you know, I put on a hoodie, white boy put on the hoodie and it's like, oh my God, he looks like Justin Timberlake. I don't know, you know, but so Americanness feels a little bit like, it has something to, there's a relationship between American and permission, because things feel heavily militarized. And some people just seem to have more permission more of the time. But you know, I walk through security systems and I get nervous. You know, when my beard is thick, I get nervous. When it's thick, and like, you know, the little bit of hair that I got left, you know, when it grows a little bit, it grows straighter than it used to. Where it used to be just real nappy, and then folks might think I'm anything. You're starting to look like James Baldwin.
That's what his niece said to me yesterday. She said, "It looked like you're a member of the family."
Honey. I wonder if being a New Yorker, if being an American is different in New York than it is in Enid, Oklahoma. Like, could Americanness also have something to do with geography? I mean, we know that it's a postmodern, it's a kind of postmodern question in that there's a bunch of folk that would have a bunch of different takes on it. But I imagine being a North Side American in Chicago is different from being a West Side American in Chicago. To have been born a poor American, 9th of 9, 8 sisters, wildly effeminate, with my dad's work ethic and endowment. That it was very complicated. It was very complicated to understand what that meant living in a kind of a context that was often violent and angry and those things. But I feel like the gift of Baldwin and the gift of maybe a Booker T, those moments or whatever, is that you start to realize that Americanness is also about adaptation, and that there's a history of adaptation associated with it. That is, you come in one way, and then you make choices, right? And you make good choices and bad choices, you know. And some of those choices are like kind of internal, and some of them are like you change your name, or you change how you walk. And that sense of adaptation, like we have the right to adapt, is pretty awesome. And that if America was born of a certain kind of bastardness, right, where like nobody was the same. You know, initially it was like they were all outcasts and kind of looking for a new democracy, looking for a new way. Then maybe Americanness is about not being a certain thing. In fact, you're probably better off knowing that you're not American, and then working from there, adapting, figuring out what it means. But you know, I talked to Italians, you know, German, like folk who came, and you know, when you hear the story, like, oh, our parents didn't speak our language at home, they really wanted us to be, you know, like American in a certain way. They were talking about a certain kind of American. My mama tried to teach me American. That's a language, American. Mama tried to. That didn't go well. But that capacity to adapt, you know, feels, and rebel, right? Like I feel like that's been a part. Like if America was born with a certain amount of rebellion in it. I'm trying to think too about how this relates to an artistic practice. Like what does it mean to like fit neatly inside of a canon of a way of moving, or a way of visualizing the world, a way of making music, and then what does it mean to come into that existing regime, that existing canon, intentionally immigranted, you know, like intentionally a little bit foreign, or coming with like that history of language and culture and those regimes, and connecting that to a new regime. And in some ways I feel like my art practice maybe feels like that right now, where it's like I got my own code of things that are important to me, that have been important to me for a long time, and I'm entering this world that has another set of values and a different code, and then what's my responsibility to adapt, and when it is my right to rebel and to ask hard questions, because art too should be the democratic space, the deeply spiritual, most godlike space. Travis is holding the microphone. I think he wants people to use it. I'll take a, I mean, really, y'all can ask me, and you know, how many museum people are here? The people who work at museums. What museum y'all work at?
Queens Museum.
Huh,
The Yale University Art Gallery,
huh. Who else in here? Where you work?
Brooklyn Museum.
Where you work?
Brooklyn Museum.
Who else? Where you work?
SF MoMA,
What's your name?
Megan,
Meg, what's your last name?
Brian.
What's your name?
Sarah Suzuki,
Oh, my Lord. Where you work, Sarah?
the Museum of Modern Art.
Oh, my gosh. Who else here? This is really exciting. You're Moa? Hey! Nancy Moa? Is that Japanese? Hey! Where you work?
Student Museum.
Oh, my God. Who else works in museums? Did I get everybody? Yeah. Where you work? What's your name?
I'm Glenn.
Oh, hey,
I work at the
Glenn.
Museum of Modern Art.
Oh, my goodness. You know Nancy Mama? You guys know Nancy Mama? Yeah.
Where is home for you?
Home. You know, I did this project with this brother, Mark Bamichi Joseph, performance artist. He sings and dances at the same time. I don't know how he do that stuff. B, aren't you tired? He has this sentence, this phrase, and he says, home is where, basically home is where I lay down when I Skype my kid at night. And so he's kind of given up, kind of the need to situate himself in the Bay, even though he's for show Bay, right? I think more as a politic, well, Chicago's home, and that means something. And talking about Chicago means something. But earlier when I was talking to the staff, I was just saying that there's a way in which an artist can make a work of art, but an artist can also choose to make a work because the work represents something, not because they necessarily believe in the work, that object or that work of art, but if they were to make that work of art, that work might represent something much bigger than the object itself. That it feels important to be from a place, you know? And I think about the history of moments where we needed to be from somewhere. Moments where, like, we needed to be from somewhere so that we could go somewhere else. Like, I ain't gonna live in Arkansas no more. I'm gone to the north. Or the need to imagine you're from Africa, right? Like the need, like that kind of like, there were a couple ways of it. There was the Garveyisms, there was the Garvey moment in the kind of black imagination, the rootedness, and then there was like a Mulana Karenga, a Miri Baraka moment, you know, like that other kind of moment. But in the art world, where for so long in theater, music, and the visual arts, folk in Chicago had to leave, and they were really talented people, and there just weren't enough venues, and I don't know, there wasn't enough fertile soil. And so they come here and they become like musical director for Cassandra Wilson. They become things. They do the Dutchman and sweat lodges. You know, it's like all these things start to happen. But I think that, you know, I feel like being from Chicago is both political and a choice. And then I say all the time, Mississippi is my Africa.
Theaster, you need an Africa?
I need a response when people say, no. Where are your ancestors from? And I say, Mississippi. that at some point it wasn't worth lying anymore and saying, oh, well, you know, I have some, some family in Grenada. I used to make up shit. You know, just to kind of like expedite that part of the conversation. And now I just say Mississippi. You know, where you from Mississippi? And I think I have a kind of excitement about that today that I didn't when I was chopping cotton in my uncle's cotton farm, looking out for rattlesnakes. Y'all know? How many artists are here? How y'all doing? How are things here for us?
In New York,
Yeah.
expensive,
Okay.
way too expensive.
Things are expensive. Man. Y'all saw that article? You know, people send me articles now about how all the New York artists are coming to Chicago and stuff like that. Coming to Kansas City. They're moving. You know, they're like, oh my God. For the amount I pay in rent, I can get a new house, a warehouse, and I can start a corporation. $1,700 a month. How are other things? Is it what we imagine?
It's a battle.
It's a battle.
That's what I find.
It's a battle. I mean, this isn't, now, battles can be good. Battles can be important. Make it in New York, right? I've only been an artist for 2.5 years. When I was in the Whitney at 10, people would say to me over and over again, where have you been? Like, how could you have not been on my radar? Like, how did we not know you? You know? And what they were saying was, why haven't you been here in New York with the rest of us? Or in some way, that every artist known would be known. Every artist to be known would be known. And I think about that. You know, with my lowly little ceramic practice, that I think, man, it must be some bad, like if y'all think I'm doing something, it must be some bad so-and-sos in the world. We don't do that no more. You know, I'm reading this stuff about Alan Locke and Thurman, Walter Thurman,
Wallace.
Wallace Thurman. I mean, Harlem, New Negroes, right? And folk were, Alan Locke had something at stake. There was a time when black people were like, now guys, we have to nail this. Guys, we have to nail this. If the world is gonna understand this as an important regime, it's important that we understand the brevity of our words. You gotta stay away from those old crazy Negroes, those niggerati Negroes over there. Dress yourself real nice.
Is it different?
I don't know if black artists get together and think about themselves as a regime. I feel like the artists who have it best are artists who live in places so obscure that they just don't even have to worry about the market. Like, I think Iceland got so hot, Reykjavik was so hot because they were like, well, ain't nobody coming. So we good over here. But I'm telling you, I went to Kansas City. I saw some of the best. I was blown away. I'm like, what are you doing? Because it's like the gestation time is longer.
And they all have a warehouse.
And they all got a warehouse. It's like, I'm like, why is everybody in New York making stuff like this? All ideas.
But see, that's what's amazing is how this is like, I know you know this. Right now, look at these people in this room.
That's what I'm saying.
And why are they here, brother?
Why are they here?
Yeah, and yet this is really, it's making me feel like this because it's such an art world hot point at this moment. You drop a bomb in this room. You have changed a good deal of American cultural life and a good deal of European and American cultural life. So what is this moment, my brother? What are we doing here?
What is this moment? It ain't got nothing to do with me.
Oh, really?
Listen, y'all. This is really why. This is why I'm here. To say, I ain't gotta be here. We don't need an excuse to self-organize or to imagine a radical politic and make it happen. Or imagine new kinds of artistic forms and not be apologetic about it. Even if there's not an audience to view it or whatever. If we broke anyway and stressed anyway, then why not just go all the way instead of trying to fit into the regime? Just,
Artists do that.
Right.
At a certain point.
Right?
What's that? What do they do? What do they do? They don't worry.
No, at a certain point, women artists, I think, rejected the canonical, started to make other kinds of things, which we call photography, which at that time had Lorraine, you know better than I do.
What is it?
Well, I mean,
I may, but I don't know what it is.
Women rejecting the canonical.
Oh,
Right.
Yes.
And
as a way of freeing themselves.
And so when brother says it's a battle, the part that makes me excited about that is that those moments of kind of pressure and oppression and suppression and battling, those are the moments when the great stuff where there's the most potency for the blow up, spillover, cast out good stuff. And I was convinced that there was not room for my artistic practice in the world. I was convinced of it in 2005, 6, 7. I was convinced that at best I would keep my great day job, and the advice I got from an old Jewish cat was, Theaster, as long as you make 2 times more than your age, you're doing fine, right?
2 times more than your age, what does that mean?
When you're 36, you should be making $72,000.
Oh.
There's a reason to get
There's a reason to get old, they say, right? Yes. Yeah.
My kid is about $30,000 behind this room.
So what changed?
Once I accepted that I was not going to be accepted, I created a platform that I could then deliver my form in.
So now you're accepted, what does that mean?
I don't think about that so much. What I'm trying to do is now I really enjoy creating platforms so that I can make my form. And I think the part that seems accepted is oh shit, we better invite Theaster to our gala, because that motherfucker might have his own gala and our board members might not go because his platform might be a better platform than ours. The one Jay-Z comment that I have is that sometimes you do have to build the house you rock in. And that if we were constantly, hey, there have been waves of black acceptance in the larger institutions. And there's always been 1 or 2 at a time. And now because big white institutions think that there's a growing black middle class and upper middle class, they'll get one on their board, they'll get, they'll find a little group, they'll create a little group, that group will donate a work, or they'll raise their $50,000 to get a nice little photograph, or this or that. They'll cultivate, because they'll think, oh man, if we cultivate, like traditional development, they start out giving $2,000 and a little singer, and then it might be $200,000 over the next 10 years. It's like, yeah, that's something. But if you're gonna pay, sorry y'all, if you're gonna pay $250,000 to be on a board, if a black person from Cincinnati moved to New York, they doing good, making money, and then a big institution says, we want you to be on our board. We gotta ask, why do we want to be on boards? And I think part of the reason we want to be on boards is because we want to be liked by people. We want to be part of the regime. We want to be at the Studio Museum. So there's kind of, and they're only gonna let so many people on. And there's a way in which I think, okay, well, person from Cincinnati, what would happen if you gave that $250,000? That's really, it's just your entry fee. It might get you 2 little dinners. You don't even get to the back room. I watched that in Chicago. But the reality is, if we were a regime, us all, right, and we bought a warehouse together, and we started showing our work there, and we, there's a part of me that's like still a little bit holdout. And it's like, because I understand that John Calapinto, guy who wrote the New York article, could be upset because the New York Times article came out before.
Yeah.
And then he could leverage his power to say some things that's now like written, the ink is there. That's my big New Yorker moment, right? And it's like these systems of power, these motherfuckers can shift on you in a heartbeat. So it's like, I'm accepted today, right?
And they will.
And they will. And so so then knowing that, seeing the histories of that, my guy, Waleed Rod is always saying, there's an arc, and performers say that their arc is a little bit different from a visual artist's arc, but we all better recognize that there's an arc. And so if this is the arrogant, most potent moment, then I need to be ready to say, okay, what does 3 years from now look like? What does 5 years from now look like? What does the work look like? What do I feel like when the moment passes, when a certain kind of public passes? And I'm saying, I need to know y'all. I need to be giving you that $10,000 today, because one day your pain's gonna be worth $1 million. I want you to fly me to New York and put me up and call it the Black Artist Retreat. Because I'm creating a platform, right? And maybe it's. I mentioned the difference between making a work of art because you love making it and making it because it represents something. That things like the Black Artist Retreat is simply trying to demonstrate that in every city, all of us have the right to, without the help, whether we're in or out of a certain kind of institution, we have the right to convene ourselves. We have the right to sharpen iron sharpening iron. We have the right to make each other better and tighter. We should be writing about each other's work. We should be showing each other's work in little galleries. We should be calling our friends and just saying, yo, I see you doing it, it's looking good. Me and Hank Willis Thomas, we talk, we text each other, it's like boy text. Me and Barry, we text each other and yo,
Yes, sir.
hey.
So what role does philanthropy play in these dynamics, and what do you wish philanthropists would understand better about you?
Question, please.
What role does philanthropy play in this conversation, and what role would I wish? Y'all, can I talk about money for just a little bit? Love this. This is like my favorite. Glenn, you can come up here and help me. Oh no, I'm yours. So let's say philanthropy. Let's say, oh, this is so fun. I've been dying. Let's say there are these structures, legal structures. There are these legal structures, like a trust, and like, and that could be like family, and then there's another land. They're like, and let's say that this word trust just means that I got something and it ain't none of your business. And then there's like, there's just like 501c3, and then there's like these private, kind of like the individual. One of the things that's been really interesting about tax law in the US is that the tax laws favor people who have a lot of money, and people with a lot of money are able to kind of influence law and create legislation that help the rich keep what they got, or all those things. But let's not, I don't have bias toward wealth, but I just want us to understand the structures. So it's like, when I was an individual, the philanthropic folk, they might say, God, Theaster, we love what you're doing. Changing the South Side, bringing hope to those people around you. Really thinking not just about yourself, but about the impactfulness that the arts could make on your neighborhood and the larger society. You're doing it. And I would say, awesome. Why don't you be a partner with me? That's the language, guys. That's the language you use. Why don't you partner with me in this work? So that we could leverage my resource. We could be more impactful. We could do great things. And then it'd be like, great. Unfortunately, we don't have a way. We don't have a way of giving to individuals. Can you? We want these things to be sustainable, and God forbid, what if you get hit by a truck? It's like, why the hell does everybody say that? Hit by a truck thing. It's like, well, the ass could get hit by a truck, It's like, well. And so I think that there's a way in which, when an artist, people who are intentional about becoming rich, understand that there are other structures that you need in order to maintain the wealth that you have. Some people become accidentally, they sell a couple paintings and then they're like, oh, I can get a private driver now. This is really awesome. I can like driving through Brooklyn. I can like holler at Fort Greene, Williamsburg, all buddy, But I wish that the wealth community would talk more. I wish people would talk more about the structures that help people keep what they got. Now, when I go to Basel, Switzerland, and somebody says, oh my God, I'm working with the Jessica Foundation for the arts. And there's been this like rise. Have you guys noticed there's this rise in arts foundations in Europe and in the United States? And it's like, boy, what is this new structural phenomenon? And I think it's because rich motherfuckers have figured out, if I got an itch for art, I can give that money to a thing that's not me, that has a better way of leveraging resources than that thing. Because, I'm gonna die anyway. I'm 65. I only got this itch for a couple more years, and then that itch gonna go away. This thing grows. I have a legacy. It's named. It's the Jessica Foundation. So I love her. Jessica, I love her. The Burton Foundation. I have many foundations. Whatever. And so I wish that there was a way. I wish the conversation, the complexity of economy was a bigger part of the conversation of art. Not to make us all money-grabbing people, but so that we could be better stewards with the stuff that we have. Like, it took me forever to just save my receipts. It's like, if I'm gonna get taxed 39.6% anyway, every opportunity I have to say, man, you know, man, you gonna tax me, and I'm trying to do good in the hood, I'm trying to help a brother out. But I don't have these structures because I don't understand them, because I wasn't born rich, and I don't know how those things work. Another thing though, Judy Lee, is that, and so then you have like MEC, is it with the 8, it's like the M-R, man, I gotta learn how to spell these things. Then you have things, you know, and like, you know, you have these things, and they're trying to figure out how can we support individual artistic genius, right? Are there ways? And then you realize that, like, oh, maybe there are ways that artists who don't want to become not-for-profits, who don't want a big, you know, who want to make independent and charismatic decisions, maybe there are some ways. I wish we would think more about the relationship between philanthropy and individual artists, and not just philanthropy and, because 501c3s to me are still like a group of individuals. They just have a tax structure that allows them to benefit from the resources that the foundation creates. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Okay, except to say, maybe I believe that in addition to us being artists, there are all these other things that we really have to know. There's all this other, there's a big territory that is bigger than our painting and our studio and our sculptures. And that the more we have a sense, we ain't gotta know it all, we need to have friends who know things. But the more we understand that stuff, I feel like the more rich this thing that we really love. But you can't just, it's hard to just live in the thing you love. You know. Yes, ma'am.
Where does the singing come from?
On my toes. You know, it's a couple years ago, I was asked to go to Miami and do something in Miami at the art fair. You know, and like whenever you put in these certain contexts where the thing is supposed to do one thing and you're trying to make it do another thing, and you can fail miserably trying to make a thing be something that it ain't. But I like taking that on. I brought this sister, Charisse, who's like the Baptist, like real Baptist, like all the way back, like real back Mississippi, Africa. Charisse, Kahari, Yao, me, maybe my guy Michael Avery, we processed through the fair in Miami, and then we sang down to the beach. We went past some little museums. We sang all the way. It was really, really nice. Anyway, somewhere in there, Charisse got happy. And I was like, is she really getting happy? And you could tell, like, her face started, like, she had some muscles, like, she could only make them quiver when she's at a certain kind of ecstatic. And she dropped her hands and she was like waving. She was walking and waving, right? To a largely white crowd. The white folk were really cool with being right up on it. They were like, take me to the water. You know, and they were like, are you okay? And she's crying, and they're like, are you okay? And it's like, Charlie, she's had the Holy Ghost moment. But that thing is like, so that before the monks go out, I have to say, hey y'all, we might, because of all these white people out here, we might change what we do. And I'm trying, let's just be in a zone where we don't change what we do. That the best thing we can do is just do the thing for the purposes and the purposes that it was created. Gospel music was made to do certain things. Let's do that. It just happens that it's translocated, right? It's just happening in a different place. But don't like jazz up, take me to the water, you know, so that it feels like, you know, take me to the water, buddy. And I had just mentioned to the staff earlier that I feel like, you know, I'm not a performance artist. I'm a comedian, but I'm not a performance artist. I think I just sing gospel music. And singing gospel music feels like the original material. It's like gospel is form. So it's like, I don't have to change the music. And I'll sing the same 32 songs all my life. Like, I just feel like there's a kind of need to keep going back to this thing. And we're like so far from that thing. It's just like somebody has to like keep going back, right? So Jeffrey just came, when we were at LA Mocha, the monks came, the sound system was good, it was warm outside. I had gone to the sauna the night before, I had some good sushi. My voice was warm. And in that, you know, this was when the show Under the Black Sun was up. In that moment, in the museum, all these things felt right. It was Sunday morning. And it was like we were exactly where we needed to be. And all the conditions were there for all of our cheeks to quiver. And it happened. It happened. And it didn't necessarily make sense to folk whose cheeks have never quivered. And that's when I feel like it's getting to that good spot. To you know, when it's like, it's another tongue, and some people understand it, and some don't.
Theaster, what is freedom, and have you been there?
Freedom was a man with no mouth, wanting to tell everybody about himself, but silence got in the way, so freedom danced, a frenzied salsa kind of dance, non-structured, nonsensical, whimsical kind of dance. A dance that spelled his name. When you watch freedom work out his little Reba soul. Freedom dance, he danced. Freedom danced, he danced. I think it has something to do with like I talk about like when we were young. Sometimes like it would be somebody's birthday and they like, Tawana, go on sing, go on up there, and you were forced to do a thing. It's like you're forced to do it over and over again. The battle, the lack of control, the lack of power we have over our bodies. And freedom feels like what happens when the world is forcing your hand and there's no longer opposition. like where it's like, oh. The choice to do the thing that you have to do anyway. But like choosing to do it. You know, like, and I don't know, I have some freedom. But you know, I don't control my schedule. There are 3 people who look at my calendar every day and they tell me what's best. And one of them wakes up very early, so she thinks that I should have meetings very early. And, but there was a way in which giving up my calendar to these 3 people gave me another kind of freedom. And in fact, giving up my calendar, poor Lakeisha, she's bound to a chair. That there's always this kind of like. But I remember when at the University of Chicago, they were trying to get me to give my calendar over to an assistant. I was like, are you crazy? You know, I had like extreme resistance. Like, ain't nobody gonna be telling me what I'm doing, and you can't just put no meeting on my calendar. You just gonna put it there? You expect me to look at my phone and then just go to the meeting? Like all of the relational, all of the, you know, I don't think about my calendar. People be like, I called you, I sent you an email. I don't even feel bad no more. I don't check it. I used to try to act like I checked it all, and I'll try. Now, some of you get 3 a.m. messages. If you're getting a note from me at 3 in the morning, that's me. If you're getting it between 9 and 5, it's not me.
Is that just social contract theory on a micro scale, where you give up some freedoms to get up?
Come on. Hey man, we need to talk. No, it's time to go. Is it time to go?
It's time to go, but we're still
But no.
open.
Yeah, I gotta get some business done. Can we do this thing in nuance?
Yeah.
Can you tell them about what I asked you to do?
I'm not sure what you asked me to
It
do.
has something to do with cabs and a number of them.
Yeah, you were doing something down there and you need to transport people around and stuff like that, and I said I would get you those cars.
Right. This brother owns a cab company in Chicago. He don't live there all the time, but he goes there because his cab company, his livelihood is in part based in Chicago. I want to create a taxi service for Prospect 3. And there's this program called Man Up that's run by an organization called Ashe, brothers who take care of their children. And these brothers have been wanting work. Franklin asked me to be in Prospect. I can't say no to Franklin. I don't really want to, I'm not going to Huguenot it out. Been there. And so how can I leverage, okay, so my guy, who I love, wants me to be part of something. There's not a whole lot of resource in order to do a kind of grand thing. People feel left out of the economy of Prospect who are local. Ashe is this organization that's thinking, oh man, we want to figure out how we can connect to that. My art, this is an administrative moment. I call Mike, come to the city. Mike, I want to do this thing. I want to shuttle people around, I want to get them, boom, and if you give me these cars, then we can start like a straight taxi service, liveries, shuttle. What is it? Can you help me do the research on New Orleans getting pendants? Do we have to have pendants? Can we be like an independent livery service? Then right? How many cars you got? You said 40, I say. So Mike got 40 cars.
Heard it here.
So Mike got 40 cars. Ashe has the administrative infrastructure. Franklin and Prospect has the platform. If we do, and then Chase Bank, there's a relationship with Chase. Chase says, if you put some money in, we'll give you our CRAs. I don't know what a CRA is. Who knows what a CRA is?
Community Reinvestment Act.
Yes. As a result of the Community Reinvestment Act, there's some money that banks have to give to things that are happening. They're like, oh my God, yeah, it's like Jesus coming to town. Yeah, it's coming to town. But how do you leverage this stuff beyond our personal practices? So that those moments, like that thing feels like a work to me. Now, museums might say, but Theaster, what are you going to put in a museum? I'm saying, after Prospect, 35 of the cars, can I have the cars? You just going to know. 35 of the cars are on stage in New Orleans. We're going to use Perry's Crib as the dispatch spot. And then 5 of the cars, because we're going to trick them out. Because Franklin might have 25,000. We're going to spray paint them. We're going to man up, a partnership with the Ashe Foundation and Prospect 3. And I'm at a moment, you know, some of y'all know about, some of y'all write. My name don't have to be on it. So I could call Judy Lee and say, Judy Lee, I know that this is a little different, but Prospect is a 501c3 and can certainly partner with us. And can we bring in other philanthropic organizations that would help us create a dope-ass workforce development program that starts as a museological act. It starts as a work of art. The year of research is like creating a business plan where it's the real work. Why not have it be the real work? And then have Man Up be the Man Up taxi service. Thomas is gonna lose his brain. Are you good? What time is it, y'all?
You're at 5 or 6.
Thank you guys for coming.